Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for an interesting discussion. I can't believe that we are 6 years already in marriage. 6 years and 2 months being married, being Mrs. Bachi. Mr. Bachi, hi. Tell us about this 6 years journey. What you've learned, what has changed, what were your expectations? Have your expectations been met? Any down moment, great moment? We want to hear from you.
So 6 years of marriage. We are 6 years and 2 months from the time that we are recording this video. One of the most difficult things, or one of the biggest changes, has been the fact that I have to account to another person apart from God. You know, before we got married, I could go wherever I want to go to. When I was in school and if there was any program anywhere, like usually those dispenser evangelism centers, any program anywhere, or I had to go to town, I just get up. Even if it is almost night and I calculate and I realize I can go and come back, get out, go to the roadside and get some transportation, and then I'm gone and then I'm back. Whatever time I come back, nobody's going to ask me any questions. When I decide to overstay, nobody's going to ask me any questions. But now, I cannot do the same. The woman I'm married to is like a policewoman.
Oh, man. But when you step out and I check up on you and all that, it's just to see that you are safe.
Yes, it's to see that I'm safe. Well, that's how it seems to you. But having lived my life in the past where I don't have to tell anybody what I'm doing, how I'm doing, and now all of a sudden I have to account. I cannot just even turning off my phone. Those days before we got married and when we were not even dating, I remember times that I had to just go home on vacation and I just decided that, look, I'm going to put my phone off for the next 24 hours, 48 hours, and I don't have to account to anybody. And if it is on and anybody asks, I'm like, it was off, that's all. But now I cannot do that. And then also having to ask another human being to keep check on you. For example, when we are going out and I have to dress, those days I can just put on anything. When we're now away from Accra to Takrady, my socks. So the last minute just before we left, I had to wash and iron one of my socks and wear. And my wife says, no, you are not going to iron. You are not going to iron and wear the socks. It is not that necessary. She said, this is what I want to wear. She says no. She doesn't think it is fine. At the end of the argument,
I just took one away. And I knew that, well, if I take one away, there's no way you are going to be able to get it.
So at the end of the argument, okay, I just realized that no, this one, let me just let it go. So I decided to lose. Not lose per se, but I just decided to go by what she says. It's another difficult thing living with another human being who grew up in a different setting, was brought up by different parents, and even grew up in different, probably a different geographical location or under different economic conditions.
Yeah, it's different things and all that.
And then all of a sudden,
you have to adjust. Like for me, one of the things that I had to change when I got married was all my life, my mom serves my dishes in a bowl for me alone. So when it's meal time, she takes the food and then she dishes and then this is yours. Till date, that's what happens in my house. Then I got married. And then when I got married, I went to visit my in-laws, and when they were dishing their food, they dished it in one bowl and it was for all of us, like me, my husband, and it was so weird. I was like, I felt a bit uncomfortable. And then since then, when we cook in the house now, everyone starts to eat in the same bowl. And sometimes I have to do takashi so that I'll eat alone. It's still something I'm trying to adjust to.
So there are some of the changes.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I had.
And for me, in relation to that, another thing is when you get married, you're not just getting married to one person. Well, maybe in other jurisdictions or other cultures, you just get married to one person and it's just the two of you. Even that, they still have extended family. Almost every culture has an extended family system. So now when you get married, another thing is that I had to put up with my wife's family in as much as she has to put up sometimes, not all the time anyway, sometimes with my family members as well. So when I visit her home, there is a peculiar way, some way that they do their things.
Okay, my house, when they cook, nobody is going to dish food for you by force. They'll ask you, will you eat? If you say no, that's it.
So on that, one of my experiences with that was, you know, I grew up in a very typical traditional setting where those days when I visit my grandmother, when she's cooking, she assumes you are hungry. So she'll just dish the food for you. In fact, she cooks and adds your share to it. So when the food is ready, everybody has a share of the food. Now I get to my wife's house and those days and they ask me, oh, will you eat? Then I go like, oh, no.
And you actually think someone is going to beg you.
I saw the time kept going and I was wondering.
But you were hungry.
I was hungry, but
why did you say no?
But I grew up in a setting where when you visit, other people, you don't just go like I'm hungry. A visitor, you don't visit somebody's home as a visitor and then you just go like I'm hungry. So you say no usually, or sometimes you say no, then the person say, oh, just small, and you say, oh no, then the person say, oh, just small. So I went to my wife's house and then, as usual, I went the same way and I sat. Everybody was eating. And I remember I said no. I got hungry. So I learned with time that when you are hungry, when they are cooking, they'll ask you, would you want to eat? If you say yes, then they add your share to it and then they serve you. If you say no, it means you are not eating. Your yes is taken as a yes and your no is taken as a no. Yeah. So with time, I had to change that aspect of me. And it's the same thing now. When we have a visitor, we have adopted that we don't just cook food for our visitors. We ask you, would you want to eat and what would you want to eat before we cook? If you say no, it is no. It means you are going to be hungry.
Yes.
So that's one of the things.
And for me, I think that 6 years, I don't know. I don't know. I don't see them. It just came so fast.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like we've been married for 6 years.
For 6 years.
Maybe because of friendship. I believe so, because we've been friends and we are still friends.
So what are some of the changes again?
I have to put down
some of the things that you have to change about.
Ven likes talking. And when Ven is washing his hands,
I used to see myself as somebody who doesn't like talking.
No, you like talking. You like talking.
Now I know.
You like talking. Sometimes I just have to listen. But recently he told me it's because of his profession. That's why he likes talking, so I understand.
Another thing I had to change is about spending. Because I am that person that I spend my money on a strict budget. A strict budget.
It's the budget one.
Those days before we got married, when I started working as a house officer and my salary was coming, sometimes even when I come back from town, I'll indicate if I buy something 2 cedis, I'll write it there 2 cedis. If I buy water 1 cedi, water. So at the end of the month, I can calculate how much I have spent.
And then what happened?
And it was pay. And now I got married. And then my wife, actually when we entered a shopping mall, I had to keep asking that, is this what we came for? Is this what we came for?
Please,
is this what we came for? No, because if I don't, by the time I realize we are living with a whole lot of things that we never even thought of when we were entering the shop. So I have had, even though we still do a budget, sometimes I have to just keep quiet and just go with the flow sometimes. But even that one, not
so hard.
It's still hard. It's hard because.
No, already there.
So as of now, I have budgets that I've drawn for the past 2 years or 3 years. I still have all those budgets on my phone. I can scroll back and see how much I've spent all my money. But sometimes I still have to add some miscellaneous, which are not really miscellaneous. They are things that my wife has thought of when we enter the shop, and I have to go buy them. So the change is that I have to learn to relax how I spend. Not to overspend extravagantly or buy unnecessary stuff, but just I've learned to just relax a little bit. And sometimes it's not easy, but I have to. And I understood that I was very strict on my budget, so sometimes I had to just let some of that.
I've learned to get over things faster than I used to. So anytime we have a quarrel,
and we have a lot of those.
Yeah, we do.
A lot.
And mostly he's the one that.
Not always. Okay, that one is for another day.
I've learned to. I know that I'm not perfect, but I'm still trusting God that anytime we have an argument or a quarrel, I'll be able to learn to let go easily and quickly so that we get back on track.
And even that stuff, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes.
Yeah, of course, it doesn't always
even
happen.
After I have apologized, the matter hasn't settled yet. We have to come back for a second settlement before it's finally done. So when it's
done, it always ends well.
Oh. So when I go like, I'm sorry for so and so, then my wife will say, okay, and I think everything is dead. Probably we are on our way to work, or we exit the house and we go to work. Then in the evening when we come back, we now have to come and settle the matter proper.
I have to now tell you what you did, like into details. And it's okay. That one is just part one. If I don't go into details, that one, then you know that it's not a real apology.